The strategic environment surrounding Japan has shifted steadily over the past decade, with the country's southwestern maritime approaches becoming a focal point of security planning. At the center of this discussion lies the challenge of defending long, dispersed island chains under conditions where speed, legality, and political legitimacy matter as much as raw combat power. Within this context, the Ōsumi-class occupies a distinctive and often misunderstood position. Rather than symbolizing offensive ambition, these ships reflect a carefully calibrated response to Japan's geographic realities and constitutional constraints, particularly in relation to the defense of the Nansei Islands. Japan's southwestern islands stretch across a vast maritime area, forming a natural buffer between the main archipelago and the broader Indo-Pacific. The sheer length of this chain, combined with its fragmented geography, creates a persistent logistical challenge. Small islands are difficult to reinforce quickly, yet they cannot be left unsupported in a crisis. Traditional surface combatants excel at sea control, but are poorly suited for transporting large numbers of troops, vehicles, and supplies ashore. Airlift offers speed, but its payload limitations and dependence on secure runways reduce its effectiveness in prolonged contingencies. As a result, Japan's defense planners have long recognized the need for a maritime platform capable of bridging this gap without signaling an offensive posture. The Osumi-class emerged from this requirement in the late 1990s, shaped by lessons drawn from disaster relief operations as much as from military planning. Unlike classic tank landing ships, these vessels lack a bow door and instead rely on a well deck at the stern. This design choice was not merely technical, but political and doctrinal. By emphasizing transport and support over direct assault, Japan was able to field a ship that enhanced its defensive resilience while remaining consistent with the spirit of its post-war security framework. The result was a platform optimized for logistics, flexibility, and cooperation rather than shock action. In practical terms, the Ōsumi-class provides Japan with a reliable means of moving personnel and equipment across contested or degraded environments. Landing craft air cushion can deploy vehicles directly from the well deck to shore, bypassing damaged ports or limited infrastructure. Helicopters operating from the flight deck extend the ship's reach inland, enabling rapid distribution of forces across multiple points. This combination aligns closely with the operational needs of Japan's southwestern islands, where dispersed geography demands parallel rather than sequential reinforcement. A key beneficiary of this capability is the Amphibious Rapid Deployment Brigade, which was established to provide Japan with a specialized force for island defense and recapture missions. The brigade's effectiveness depends not only on training and equipment, but also on the availability of suitable transport platforms. The Ōsumi-class serves as a maritime backbone for such operations, enabling the brigade to deploy with sufficient mass and sustainability. Importantly, this relationship reinforces a defensive narrative. The brigade is framed as a response unit designed to protect Japanese territory, and the ships that carry it are portrayed as enablers of that mission, rather than instruments of power projection. Recent years have demonstrated that the relevance of the Ōsumi-class extends beyond purely national scenarios. Participation in multinational exercises has become a regular feature of Japan's maritime posture, and these ships often play a central role. When operating alongside partners such as the United States or regional navies in Southeast Asia, the Ōsumi-class functions as a platform for coordination rather than dominance. Its focus on transport, medical support, and humanitarian assistance makes it an acceptable and even welcomed presence in cooperative settings. For Japanese audiences, this reinforces the image of their country as a contributor to regional stability rather than a source of tension. This dual-use character is particularly significant. The same capabilities that enable island defense also support disaster relief operations, an area where Japan has extensive experience and strong public support. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and typhoons have repeatedly underscored the importance of maritime logistics in domestic emergencies. The Ōsumi-class has been used to transport relief supplies, vehicles, and personnel to affected areas, often when civilian infrastructure was damaged or overwhelmed. Such missions strengthen public understanding of why these ships exist and why they continue to receive funding despite their age. At the same time, it would be misleading to portray the Ōsumi-class as a solution to every security challenge. The ships have clear limitations, particularly in high-intensity conflict scenarios. Their defensive armament is modest, and they rely heavily on escorting vessels and air cover for protection. They are not designed to operate independently in contested environments dominated by advanced anti-ship weapons. However, these limitations are consistent with Japan's strategic choices. By accepting constraints in self-defense capability, the design reinforces the message that these ships are intended to support operations under controlled conditions, integrated within a broader force structure. Debates within Japan's policy community increasingly focus on how long the Ōsumi-class can remain effective. Entering their third decade of service, the ships face questions about modernization and replacement. Potential upgrades center on command and control systems, communications, and interoperability with newer platforms. Enhancing situational awareness and network integration would allow the class to function more effectively within joint and combined operations, particularly in scenarios involving rapid response to emerging crises. At the same time, there is caution about pursuing changes that might alter the fundamental character of the ships and invite domestic or regional criticism. Budgetary considerations further shape these discussions. As Japan expands its defense spending to address a more demanding security environment, trade-offs are inevitable. Investing in next-generation surface combatants, missile defense, and air capabilities places pressure on resources available for amphibious platforms. In this context, the continued operation of the Osumi-class represents a pragmatic compromise. The ships already exist, their roles are well understood, and their political acceptability is high. Incremental modernization may therefore offer better value than pursuing an entirely new design with uncertain implications. Looking toward the early 1930s, the strategic logic underpinning the Ōsumi-class remains largely intact. Japan's geography has not changed, nor have the fundamental constraints imposed by its legal and political system. If anything, the emphasis on rapid, limited, and proportionate responses to contingencies has grown stronger. The defense of the southwestern islands requires platforms that can move forces efficiently, support them sustainably, and do so in a manner that reassures both domestic and international audiences. In this respect, the Ōsumi-class continues to fulfill a niche that few other ships in the JMSDF inventory can match. For Japanese viewers, understanding the Ōsumi-class through this lens is essential. These ships are not about projecting power far from home or reshaping regional balances through force. They are about ensuring that Japan can respond credibly to challenges along its own periphery, uphold its responsibilities in disaster relief, and participate constructively in cooperative security frameworks. Their design, employment, and continued relevance all reflect a deliberate strategy of restraint combined with preparedness. In the broader narrative of Japan's maritime evolution, the Ōsumi-class stands as an example of how capability development can align with national values and strategic necessity. By focusing on defense, logistics, and cooperation, Japan has created a platform that supports its security objectives without undermining its long-standing commitment to peace and stability. As debates about modernization and future requirements continue, this balance will remain central to how such ships are perceived and how they are ultimately employed.